This man admitted to me something he should not have. I've got a lot of stories. This one is quite intense, so warning. It was late at night on New Year's week. I was done studying for my college exam, so I decided to head to the bar. Upon sitting down, I noticed this other man watching me. He looked clearly upset that I had sat in close proximity to him as he folded his arms. I anticipated that this would turn into something, so before it did, I decided I would speak to him. But before I could do that, he spoke first. Long story short, turns out we had a lot in common. He told me about how he felt about women and how they will do you wrong and blah, 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 and I was in agreeance. Sometimes he'd say stuff that might as well come out of my own head. That is, until he asked me a question. He said, "What would you think about me dating a black woman?" I said, "You want me to tell you the truth? I think she'd run you over." I'm black, by the way. He snapped, and that's when he said, "I buried her." At first, I thought he meant that he had buried the relationship. Like, I thought this guy was just passionate, like an artistic thinker or something. But then he said it again. I could see the anger in him. I asked him to clarify, "You meant that you buried the relationship, right?" He doubled down. He said he murdered her and buried. He made stabbing motions aggressively as he looked into empty space, recalling what he had done. Long story short, I got angry. Then I got kicked out of the establishment. Then I called the cops. Turns out the guy was already in their system. All I heard was, "Is your last name Connolly?" Followed by a, "Come on, man, fuck the pigs." Late to the party, but this one is too good to pass up. I was once on a U.S. military ship, having breakfast in the wardroom, officer's lounge, when the operations officer, OPS, walks in. This guy was the definition of not a morning person. He's still half asleep, bleary-eyed, basically a zombie with a bagel. He sits down across from me to eat his bagel and is just barely conscious. My back is to the outboard side of the ship, and the morning sun is blazing in one of the portholes, putting a big, bright-ass circle of light right on his barely conscious face. He's squinting and chewing, and basically just remembering how to be alive for today. It's painful to watch. But then, zombie OPS stops chewing, slowly picks up the phone, and dials the bridge. In his well-known, "I'm still totally asleep" voice, he says, "Hey, it's OPS. Could you shift our bar pat?" "Yeah, 165. Thanks," and puts the phone down. And then he just sits there, squinting, waiting, and then, ever so slowly, I realize that that big blazing spot of sun has begun to slide off the zombie's face and onto the wall behind him. After a moment, it clears his face and he blinks slowly a few times, and the brilliant beauty of what I've just witnessed begins to overwhelm me. By ordering the bridge to adjust the ship's back and forth patrol by about 15 degrees, he's changed our course just enough to reposition the sun off of his face. He's literally just redirected thousands of tons of steel and hundreds of people so that he could get the sun out of his eyes while he eats his bagel. I am in awe. He slowly picks up his bagel, and for a moment, I'm terrified at the thought that his own genius may escape him, that he may never appreciate the epic brilliance of his laziness, since he's not going to wake up for another hour. But between his next bites, he pauses, looks at me, and gives me the faintest, sly grin before returning to gnaw slowly on his zombie bagel.
My friend's sister laid a huge turd in the toilet. She couldn't get it to flush, so she just casually strolls into kitchen while me and my buddy are watching Friday night videos and grabs a pocket knife from the junk drawer. Goes back towards the bathroom. My buddy is, "Hey, what the F? You need a knife for?" So she says the toilet won't flush. Their dad hears this, jumps up and runs down to bathroom and screams, "Who the shit this turd?" Which brings Mom into the bathroom. She freaks out. No, all 5 of us are in the throne room in admiration of her magnificent turd. The dad asks, "What is the knife for?" And his sister goes, "It's what I use to cut them." Yeah, that's what she said. It was silent until her mom asked, "How long have you been cutting turds with that knife?" I am dying. My friend is in tears. Well, since we are all here, I guess the secret is out, so I get massive turds on my period, Mom. So for about 6 years, Mom. She goes to leave, and her dad grabs her and says, "Cut the cheese, sweet pea, and that's your knife now." That's it, I can't breathe. I am laughing so hard. She is in tears, her mom is mortified, and her dad was trying to be supportive. My buddy and I are being total jackasses. Her dad pulls us aside and threatened to kick the shit out of us if a word of Sir Turdley of Bummertown gets out of the house. We never said a word about it outside of their house, but we were brutal to here at home.
Before you read this, please don't judge me. I'm just sharing my story because people asked. Wow. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to tell anyone about this, but it's late and I'm sleep deprived, so I guess I'll just write it now and regret it in the morning. First of all, just for some background, my mom died right when I was born. She was actually really, really hot, but this isn't about her. I guess that's fucked up to say, but whatever. I actually grew up with my dad's family because my dad has all sorts of emotional issues and he bailed before I was born. So you can see, my childhood was really kind of messed up. Anyways, growing up, I feel like there was always a lot of distance between me and my sister. When I was about 17 or 18, I first noticed that my sister was a hottie. I don't want to go into too many details about it, but basically what happened is that I accidentally found a video that she made of herself. I knew she didn't make it for me, but I thought she was so fucking beautiful that I watched it twice. I probably would have watched it a hell of a lot more, except that like right around the time I found the video, all this crazy shit went down and I had to leave home. My dad's family, who I was staying with, got in bad trouble with the law. I never talk about it. So, I was totally lusting after my sister at that point. She was also having bad trouble with the law. She was actually in custody when I left home. My friend and I went to go pick her up. When I saw her that day, after seeing the video, I have to be honest, I just wanted to fuck her brains out. Looking back on it now, it's pretty messed up, but I think she had feelings for me too. She actually kissed me right after we came to get her, and it wasn't a sisterly kiss, you know? I mean, it wasn't like ridiculously sexual or anything, but it definitely wasn't sisterly. After we left, we all went to crash with my sister's friends. On the trip there, my friend sort of implied that he wanted to get with my sister, and I got a little jealous. He's a good-looking guy, and even though she was my sister, I just felt like he was competition. Not much else happened between us for a while, except some maybe sexy hugging. Pretty much everyone in my life at that point was wanted by the government, so we all moved around a lot. I'm not saying that I'm proud of it or anything, but it was kind of an awesome time. My friend and my sister never hooked up, I don't think, but I thought there was some serious sexual tension going on between them. It was around that time that I got really badly hurt in an accident. It was fucked up. I almost died. But when I was in recovery, my sister came to see me, and out of the clear blue sky, she started giving me this awesome, slow, passionate kiss on the lips. Sadly, although I guess for the best, nothing ever came of it. We spent some time apart, and I started to get really religious, so I tried not to think of her that way. It was actually going well for a long time, like I was totally over her. But I have to say, like a year or so after all that stuff went down, we were out sailing. Not like a date or anything romantic like that, and she was wearing like the hottest bikini I've ever fucking seen, and it brought back all the old feelings. Sigh. A little while later, she actually wound up with my friend from before, the sexual tension guy. I can't say I was surprised, but even after she was shacking up with my friend, there was one time we were at a party. My friend was inside, and my sister and I were outside alone. It was a really intimate moment. I think something might have happened, except that I killed the mood when I told her that Darth Vader was our father and that I had to go face him.
I ignore texts sometimes even when I'm literally doing nothing. I feel kind of dumb admitting this, but I do this thing where I'll see a message pop up and just not open it, even if I'm not busy at all. Like the other night, I was just laying on the couch playing on my phone, scrolling through random stuff, and a friend texted me asking a normal question. Nothing urgent, nothing heavy. I read it from the preview and then just left it there for like an hour. It's not that I didn't want to talk to them. I actually like them a lot. I just didn't feel like switching into conversation mode. The second I open the message, it feels like I have to respond properly, keep the convo going, be on. So instead, I just sat there doing nothing important while technically ignoring someone I care about. I always end up replying later and acting normal, but I wonder if people can tell. Like if they see me active and think I'm just choosing not to answer. I don't think I'm trying to be rude. It just feels like the only way to get a little space sometimes, even when I'm not actually doing anything. I just don't know if that's normal or if I'm slowly becoming that person who is weirdly bad at replying for no real reason.
So when I was 17, I was stealing cash from my mom's purse. Not huge amounts, but enough that she noticed. I was trying way too hard to fit in with older kids and wasting money on dumb stuff for people who did not care about me anyway. My little brother was 13 and always seemed nervous, like he expected to get blamed for things. One night, my mom realized more money was gone and started questioning both of us. I knew I should admit it, but before I said anything, she focused on him because he was acting weird. He started crying and saying he did not do it, and I just stood there and let it happen. I barely even had to lie. My mom grounded him, took his console, cancelled a school trip, and kept saying she was more upset that he was lying than stealing. After a while, he stopped defending himself and just went quiet. I kept telling myself I would confess later, but I never did. I'm 29 now, and we are civil but not close. A couple years ago, he brought it up while we were drinking and said that was the moment he realized nobody in the house was ever going to believe him over me. So after that, he stopped trying. He was right. My mom still thinks he did it, and I think it permanently changed how she sees him. I did that. Now I keep thinking about confessing, but it feels gross because it seems like I would just be doing it to dump my guilt on everyone else after all these years. I know I earned the guilt.
Making bad-tasting food for the food thief at work. So we have communal fridges in the break room, and for the most part, people don't touch anyone else's food. Now I love banana pudding and would, on a weekly basis, bring some in, like sweet, homemade, really good banana pudding. And every so often, someone would take it and leave me with a clean Tupperware dish. So, for 3 weeks straight, instead of banana pudding, I'd take whole jars of mayo and add stuff to it to make it seem like it's really banana pudding. One day, I noticed that someone got into and left a note on it. Point made. Suffice to say, they never touched my pudding again, LOL.
I constantly lie about taking my breaks when I'm at work. Where I work, we don't get paid for our lunch breaks. Depending on what shift I'm working, I either get a 45-minute break or 1-hour break. I'm a single parent, and I've been struggling financially for the past few years. I can usually only afford to eat 1 meal a day, so I tend to skip breakfast and lunch, and I don't eat until evening. On my breaks at work, I used to sit in the staff room and not have anything to eat. But I got so fed up of people questioning why I wasn't eating that I just started working through my breaks. If a supervisor tells me to take my break, I just say, okay, and go and work in a different area of the store. Or if they ask if I've had my break yet, I just say yes. Working straight through and keeping busy stops me from feeling hungry because I've trained my brain to not recognize lunch as a thing. So yeah, my company has benefited from loads of free labor from me because I'm too poor to eat at work and too embarrassed to admit it.
I gaslit my college library out of late fees by returning my own books. Back in college in the 2000s, I checked out a bunch of books for a major research project. This was before online sources counted, so proper citations were key. Life got hectic, and I completely forgot to return them until I got a late fee notice at the end of the semester. It was something like 25 cents per book per day, and I had at least 10 books overdue for a month. I didn't have the money, and unpaid fines meant my grades/transcript would be blocked. Instead of paying, I snuck the books back onto the shelves myself. The next day, I called the library to question the overdue notice. After a short hold, the librarian apologized. It turned out all the books were on the shelves. My fines were erased, and I got my transcript.
Pretended to be my dad's ghost and may have inadvertently saved my brother's life. My dad died when I was 13 and my brother was 15. A few weeks or months after his death, I got this weird urge to pretend to be his ghost so that my mom and brother would feel comforted. My brother and I both had the same brand stereo, and so both of our remotes were interchangeable, and there was a crack between his door and frame that allowed me to control his stereo from outside the door with my remote. So I got the idea to tiptoe up to his door one night and play my dad's favorite song, Stand By Me by Ben E. King, on his stereo. I had gone into his room earlier that day to check the CD to see which number the track was. So I do it 3 or 4 times in a row and then go to bed. He doesn't mention anything the next day, and I pretty much forget about it until about 15 years later, when my brother and I start talking about depression and suicide one day. He confesses that he almost shot himself right after Dad died. I asked him what pulled him back, and he looks me dead in the face and says he had the gun in his hand when all of a sudden Stand By Me started playing. I sat there frozen. What's even more spooky is that he continues to tell me that the first time it played that night, he unplugged the stereo, and as the plug was in his hand, it played again and again. To this day, I haven't told him, and I won't ever tell him. I did something similar with my mom, but this has already gotten way longer than I expected. So if it picks up traction, I can tell that story too, if people want to hear it. Update. Mom story. Okay, so here's the story about my mom. My dad was cremated, and his urn stayed on my mom's dresser. I snuck in 2 or 3 nights and moved the urn to her bedside table. What's super weird about this is something similar happened. Nothing came of it at the time, but years later she told me not only did the urn move, but that it was also glowing.
This girl at, work drives me insane because she says, 1,000 times a day. She says, all the damn time, and it drives me absolutely crazy. She's on my team, so I have to interact with her all day, and every time we're discussing a work subject, she will say, multiple times per sentence. For example, I was talking with, a client who asked if we, had the thing you're working on, ready yet. She used 3 in one short sentence. She's been working with us for about 6 months, and speaking with her is like Chinese water torture. At first, it was no big deal, but as time goes on, it's driving me insane. I'm so triggered by people saying, now, where I get annoyed anytime someone I'm speaking with uses, in a sentence. I mentioned this to another slightly annoying guy who's constantly complaining about every little thing, and he just said he hasn't noticed. So now I feel like I'm going crazy, because the guy who hates everything doesn't care enough to notice. She's also incredibly long-winded and takes forever to get to the point, so speaking with her has multiple layers of frustration. I find myself avoiding her because I can't deal with it anymore, which is probably going to eventually cause issues at work. The worst part is, she's always friendly and nice to everyone, does solid work, and I can't complain about anything else other than her saying, every 5 words throughout the day. So if I make her feel bad, I would be an asshole.
Concerned that what started as a joke now changed my brain chemistry. I'm 100% certain I have no actual attraction or sexual interest in real incest. Never have. And I've even had arguments with my boyfriend for certain incest jokes he'd make in the past. But, all of a sudden, After me chiming in on the incest jokes and making jokey scenarios where he's a perv older brother/dad when we do intimate stuff, it now turns me on to genuinely have a dad/older brother dynamic with my boyfriend. Like, I find it extremely hot to picture him being like a perverse older brother to me. We don't look alike at all. He's 4 years older than me, and he's black and I'm white. So maybe it truly is the erotic dynamic. And I like when he's teasingly mean and dominant like a stereotypical older brother in some sort of step-sibling porn would. Just want to know if anyone else relates and it's not me becoming a bad person for unintentionally and unironically being into this now.
I once made fun of a girl with my friends when I was 11. When I was around 10 to 11, there was this girl on TikTok who was like 18, and I remember her English was really bad, and I thought it was funny. So I told my friends about it, and at first we were lightheartedly joking about it in private. But me and that girl were friends at some point, and another friend of mine asked me to put them in a GC with her at some point, and they ended up being really mean. And I remember feeling bad, but I didn't do shit about it. I just had absolutely no brain of my own. I was super scared of that one friend as well. But oh my God, I was such a cunt. I feel so irredeemable. I know that sounds really self-pitying, but how am I supposed to live with myself knowing I've hurt someone like that? Does this deserve to haunt me for the rest of my life? Do I deserve any kind of compassion? At some point, I even made an account just to mock her, which is just what the fuck. I didn't post anything on it, thankfully, but it was still so shitty. I also remember at some point she ended up telling me about all her trauma, and I just feel absolutely awful remembering it now.